Well, greetings, salutations, and welcome to the Claro Burning Question of the Week. It's that fun-filled 5 minutes out of your day where you get to have all of your inquiries about cigars, cigar accessories, humidors, anything tobacco related that is stogie oriented answered for you on camera. Per usual, we are answering your questions via email on the Claro members Facebook group as well as via Smoke Signal. Smoke Signal, get it? This week's burning question comes to us from Richard Fitzwell. Sure it does, buddy. Richard's from Lake Wampatonka over in the Cat's Lick Mountains, and he has a question for us about cigar sizes. Dear Claro, I am relatively new to cigar smoking and have a question about cigar sizes. Does the size or shape of a cigar influence flavor? And if so, does that equally influence strength as well as body? Well, Dickie, we are happy to inform you that yes, different sizes of cigars, or vitolas as they are commonly referred to in the biz, can influence the way a cigar performs, as well as flavor profiles, aromatics, body, and strength. It's all up for grabs. Now, while most cigars are constructed from a wrapper, a binder, and a filler portion of tobacco leaves, it is worth noting that the slenderness or ring gauge of a cigar can heavily influence the attributes that you're detecting. Essentially, a super slender cigar can only have so many tobacco leaves stuffed inside of it. And while the wrapper as well as the binder have a lot to do with the flavor profile and aromatics of the cigar, it is worth noting that the filler ingredients or leaves inside of the cigar, underneath both of these, is really important as well and can attribute a lot of aromatics as well as burn consistency. The temperature of the cigar has to be taken into consideration as well, because a slender smoke can overheat very quickly on you if you're not careful and are puffing too quickly. This not only runs the risk of creating some charry flavors for the inexperienced, but it also runs the risk of the cigar going out on you as well. But contrary to common belief, it is not just girth that matters. Oh no, Dickie. In fact, a cigar's shape has a lot to do with the flavor profiles, aromatics, and body of the smoke. Take the diadema form of figurado, for instance, which has a gradual shift to the taper on the barrel, leading to a very pointy cap. Traditionally formed with a very tight foot on one end that feeds into a very bulbous first third, and then a gradual taper all the way down to the pointy cap, this style of figurado is an interesting smoking experience in and of itself. Essentially, you have easy ignition from a smaller foot that builds out to a ton of filler ingredients inside, and then slowly but surely starts to wane and provide more flavors from the wrapper as the innards within the cigar grow fewer and fewer and fewer as you go. And while the same can be said for just a run-of-the-mill torpedo, it's not until you really get into the final third and parting puffs where that eventual slope starts to affect the flavor profile of the cigar. And then there are the big boys, gordos, and anything that's above a 60 ring gauge essentially, which have a ton of filler leaf stuffed inside. While it definitely doesn't get nearly as much love as the wrapper, or even the binder for that matter, filler leaf plays a vital role in providing some body to the cigar, as well as strength, depending on the type of tobacco strains stuffed inside. This makes it abundantly clear that the larger the ring gauge on the cigar, the more filler leaves are going to be inside. Ergo, potentially, the more body and strength, as well as aromatics, are going to be detected. Now, in regard to everything else in between, including box press cigars, a lot of that boils down to essentially personal preference, as well as potentially aiding in burn and construction along the way. Like this Tres Compadres from Christoph Cigars in my hand right now, the burn line or carbon ring should be almost identical, if not completely identical, all the way around. This way, you know for a fact you have an even amount of tobacco from wrapper, binder, and filler burning at the same time. Now, that being said, it is worth noting that cigars are available in a whole ton of different sizes for a reason. Master blenders aren't just trying to create a whole ton of different flavor profiles and strength levels and body from different vitolas. In fact, they're just trying to appeal to a plethora of different people that like different shapes and sizes, essentially. And while it beats the hell out of me as to how we were all duped into thinking that Toros and Robustos were the norm and should be the first cigar you reach for on the shelf, I personally am a figurado man myself, it is worth noting that there are a bunch of different reasons for smoking around and trying the same blend in a bunch of different Vitolas. You may find that a slender petite Corona is far more befitting for that cup of coffee first thing in the morning than, say, something like a Toro Gordo, for instance. Now, it is worth noting that the degree of variation from Vitola to Vitola isn't always blatantly apparent. In fact, the flavor profiles and aromatics of something like a Robusto compared to a Toro are typically the same. So, if you are up for conducting a little bit of an experiment upon yourself, snag up the typical Robusto or Toro and then pick up something like a Panatella or a Lonsdale, for instance, and smoke them, maybe not back to back, but a day or two apart, and see if you can differentiate the two from one another, with the same beverage, mind you. Hopefully, this little diatribe has answered your question, Mr. Fitzwell, and has given you, as well as those of you watching this right now, all the more reason to smoke around a bit and break out of that Robusto and Toro box that you've been pigeonholed into. Now, as for my happy ass, I'm gonna get back to typing up this cigar review that is due later this week, and I will catch you cool cats in the next installment of Claro's Burning Question of the Week.
Burning question of the week.